Good afternoon, everyone. It is Thursday, April 25th, about 2 o'clock here. We normally do our coffee talks in the morning, but I had some other obligations I had to take care of this morning, so we moved it back to this afternoon, and I'm happy to be here. It is NFL Draft Day. Had to wear, wrong side. Had to wear the Vikings polo. Hopefully they make a good decision today that is efficient. I know most people are claiming we should just trade everything to move up and get the quarterback of the future. But what people forget is that like 75% of all first round quarterbacks aren't that good. And it's a team game, right? It's more than one position and it's a salary cap league. So if you commit too much of your resources to one player and that one player isn't Patrick Mahomes, you may be sorely disappointed like most teams are. Anyways, I digress. We don't want to talk about football all day unless people want me to. As always, weekly Money Not Math, or sorry, kind of changed the name a little bit, but weekly retirement planning coffee talks are an informal way for me to have conversations and answer questions with people, even if they are not my clients, for free. You are welcome to join the Facebook Live, which I'm on right now, my personal page, because the business one doesn't work anymore for some reason. Or you can stop by and have a cup of coffee with me, or water, or whatever you prefer, at any time. There's no pressure to work with me or become my client by stopping by in person or online. It is my mission to provide the highest quality advice and service possible to my clients. Therefore, I limit myself to only having 100 or less active clients at all times that I have a fiduciary responsibility to. Even though I limit myself to only working with 100 clients at any given time, it is still important to me to provide as much value as I can to as many good people as possible, which is why these conversations are so important to me. Disclaimer: this content is not legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult a qualified professional regarding your personal situation, and this is live, so I may make a mistake from time to time, even though I'll do my best not to. I look forward to some great conversations and hope you have a wonderful day either way. With that, are there any questions to start? Please put them in the comment section now or at any time during this live video. I have a 1 hour set aside on my calendar to answer questions, but if they're not enough to take up an hour, I will wrap this up within 30 minutes by 2:30. So I will wait a moment to see if anyone has any questions they'd like to put in the comments, and I'll put that in there just to prompt questions in the future. If I don't see any, I will try to come up with some valuable, I'll search the internet for what's going on in the world today, and we'll hopefully find some valuable things to discuss while we wait for questions. One thing to be aware of for those who are my clients, exciting news: through Altruist, we are able to offer cash accounts, which are currently paying 5.1% interest with $1 million of FDIC insurance in them. We aren't charging our clients for that resource. It's just value added for our clients, but I want to make you aware, if you are a client of mine or if you've been thinking about reaching out to have a conversation, that is something we can offer now, which I know is nice considering a lot of our checking and savings accounts are getting like 0.01% interest in them right now. So if you can have completely safe money earning 5.1%, it's not a terrible thing to get. On the other side, there are alternative ways to get safe return in the market or in dealing with the market. One of those is called structured notes. For those who aren't familiar with structured notes, it's kind of like a bond or an ETF, but with more structure around it, more guarantees, more things like that. Was the 65 tough? Looking like I'm going to need it with a deal ruling yesterday. Can you be more specific on what the 65 you're referring to? Oh, are you asking the Series 65? Is that what you're asking me? Oh, okay. Thanks for asking. Was the Series 65 tough? So that depends on kind of how you look at it. When it comes to the person's asking about getting their Series 65, and that's what gave me the license to give advice, not just sell investment products. And there's I don't remember exactly what was on it, but I feel like there's basically two halves to the Series 65, and it depends on how your brain works. On one half, it's a lot of like historical things and memorizing what happened, when these laws changed, what they changed to, and when they changed. That is not my cup of tea. Memorizing random facts in the past is not usually my greatest asset. I think geography was the first B+ I got in high school and one of the few. So memorizing things is not ideal, but the other half is more conceptual and logical, and like, in this situation, what would you do? And that side was significantly easier for me and a lot more entertaining and enjoyable. So it really depends on where your passions are at and how your brain works as far as memorizing random details. I know a lot of people can just memorize, regurgitate, and forget. That was always a bit of a challenge for me if I'm not overly bought into the concept behind it. So thanks for that question, but I definitely would encourage anyone in the financial services industry to get their Series 65. Nothing against the other side of the aisle. I was in the financial representative and financial sales side of the business for many years. And they provide a great resource, especially if you're doing what's in your client's best interest, not what's in the best interest of your wallet. But being on the financial advisory side, I found it gives me a lot more freedom and flexibility to kind of run my business the way I want to run it. So, and it adds a little bit more opportunity or options when it comes to how you want to run your business. So I would definitely encourage that. And the response is yes, I agree. Yeah, concepts are a lot easier for me to learn and apply in the real world than just memorizing random details from the past. So thank you for that question. Any other questions? And I'm actually curious, I have not caught up with the news at all today. What happened in the DUL yesterday that got you wondering? DUL ruling on 4/24 on overtime regulations. Yeah, I'd be curious what ruling you were referring to when you talked about the Series 65. I do my best to pay attention to what's going on in the markets, but not follow the news, and I have not caught up today. So, minimum salary levels, ABC opposes. Oh, okay. Change fiduciary standard. Yeah. Yeah, and that big part of that basically being because an index product is based on an index in the market. So, yeah, I see what you're saying. Could be, I don't know a ton about your business, but it definitely wouldn't be a terrible thing to add your licenses because as much as it's an interesting fascination of mine, I've been in the financial services industry for almost to be 10 years next in May. That's went by fast. And the entire time, retirement planning and retirement success and retirement preparation is one of the biggest deficiencies in our society. Most people, over I think 60% of our society, do not have enough money set aside for an unexpected expense equaling $500. And 80% plus people are not confident in their retirement planning, right? So it's a pretty big deficiency in our society that more financial literacy, more financial preparation, more financial help is needed. So our government's response to these needs is to basically make it harder and harder for those of us in the industry to service our clients. So it's a very interesting, I'm not saying everything they're doing is wrong, but a lot of what the government does with their policies, they add more oversight to those of us who are trying to help without necessarily adding a solution to the problem, which is most of people in our society are just financially struggling. So what can we do to actually treat the issue, not the outcome of said issue? But let's be honest, that's pretty standard. Let's just throw a Band-Aid on the problem, not actually try to fix it. So I digress. Don't want to get into politics in any way, but it is a fascinating trend we see in the industry. And when it comes to financial index products, they can be a good opportunity depending on your situation. So any other follow-up thoughts or questions on whether it's the DUL ruling or financial planning in general that we've discussed so far? I haven't gotten anything yet other than the difference between Series 6, 63, 65, or you can go the 7 route. 7 and 67 route is also an option. Seeing none, one thing I wanted to, like I said, we can offer 5.1% interest on cash accounts now, which is a convenient option for our clients. Another thing that we can do is we can utilize structured notes or structured ETFs. That also can add some more protection. So for an example, right now we have access to 10-year notes that are paying 6% yield, or four-year notes paying 5.35, 5.5-year notes paying 6.05%. So for those of you out there, looking for a return between 5 to 6% with guarantees that you won't lose your money, there are options. But keep in mind, if you're investing for longer periods than 5, 6 years, you might want to consider taking a little more advantage of the market, which is historically speaking going to give you more than 5 to 6% return. But if you have short-term money goals or are just trying to protect a war chest of some sort from the market fluctuations, structured notes can be a good opportunity for you to look into and consider. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the product does if it's not used properly. And I'll use a golf analogy like I always like to do. My industry does a great job selling brand new clubs without explaining what maybe they should be used for. So many people will get to retirement and they'll have like 13 drivers in their bag and one putter and nothing in between. Or on the flip side, they'll terrify the heck out of you and they'll make you super scared of everything. The market's crashing, the world's going to end, buy gold, buy gold, buy gold, whatever it might be. And you get to retirement and you've got 8 putters and 4 lob wedges, but you have no other clubs either. So at the end of the day, we have to have balance. We have to have an understanding of what we're doing and why we're doing it, not just buying the shiny new thing that's out there. Questions or thoughts from anyone else? All right, so here's ironic. I was talking about being prepared for retirement and how deficient our society is. So here's an article that I just Googled retirement planning news, and it came up from thinkadvisor.com. It says 2/3 of peak boomers are not ready for retirement, this study says. So about 10,000 baby boomers retire like is a day or every year, and 2/3 of them are not prepared. They're more than likely doing it due to age or physical or medical issues. So it says what you need to know: 53% of respondents nearing age 65 have assets of $250,000 or less, according to a study commissioned by the ALI Retirement Income Institute. So again, what your retirement goals are will determine how much you actually need for your retirement, but $250,000 to live off in retirement is not a ton of money, or not a lot of money, especially if you want to live above your Social Security means. They say there are sharp differences in savings based on gender, race, ethnicity, and education. And third, projected mortality will offset 61% of Social Security's additional costs and 58% of Medicare's, the study found. So there's a lot of those people who maybe live their whole lives putting into Social Security and hoping that would fund their retirement, may be sorely disappointed when it comes to actually trying to make that work. So I think this article could be interesting. I'm gonna read through it and I'll cut it off if it seems like it's getting long in the tooth. I'll also include it in the comments section here in case anyone wants to read it more in depth. And this is written by Michael Fisher, in case anyone's wondering. I don't want to ever come off as if I'm plagiarizing someone else's information. That is not the goal. The goal is to review their information and comment on it. All right, so it says 2/3 of Americans who will turn 65 between 2024 and 2030 are not financially prepared for retirement and are at risk of outliving their savings. That's a lot. This is the stark finding in a study by Robert Shapiro, the former Undersecretary of Commerce for Economic Affairs. Pretty credible source. Between now and 2030, 30.4 million Americans will turn 65. According to the study, which was commissioned by the ALI Retirement Income Institute, based on their assets and likelihood of living 20 or more years in retirement, peak boomers will be challenged to maintain their lifestyles in retirement. 53% have assets of $250,000 or less, making it likely that they will run through their savings and have to rely mainly on Social Security for income. And to put that in perspective, because I think numbers matter, I know the traditional rule of thumb, it's not necessarily what we go by in our practice, but I'll just use it because a lot of people have heard of it, is like the 4% rule. If you have a $250,000 bucket of assets in retirement, you can draw 4% a year in hopes that you don't outlive your money, right? The number one fear of people in retirement on average is living longer than their money lasts or running out of money while they're alive. So if they only take 4% in hopes that the good years will outpace the bad, $250,000 times 4% says, if that's your plan, again, that's not the way I plan necessarily, but just to use a general example, if you have $250,000 entering retirement at 4%, that's only going to pay you $10,000 a year. Now, if you divide that out by 12 per month, that's $833 a month. So if you're one of these 53% that have $250,000 or less, can you live off of your Social Security plus $833 a month or less? That's difficult, right? So it's really important. The sooner you start planning, the better, but also understand there are options out there depending on what your situation is. Just make sure you talk to someone you trust. So with that, they say another 14.6% have assets of $500,000 or less. On average, Social Security benefits are intended to replace about 40% of a person's annual pre-retirement income according to the Social Security Administration. So let's put that again to math. If your Social Security is only made to make up for 40% of your income, and you have the rest of your assets is $250,000 or whatever it is only paying you $833, that's not a very lucrative lifestyle, right? So we have to keep that in mind, that the government's intention is only for Social Security to pay for 40% of your life or your pre-retirement income. How are you making up that other 60% plus? I know for myself personally and a lot of my clients, I don't even include Social Security in my planning. All right, if it's there, whatever it is after paying double taxes and Medicare costs and things like that, that's gravy. But if it is working the way they hope it does, which that's the government's, they created this, it's only supposed to replace 40% of your pre-annual retirement income. It's a very important point. So America has never seen so many people reaching retirement age over a short period, and well over half of them will find it challenging to meet their needs through their retirements, let alone maintain their current standard of living, Shapiro said in a statement. They lack the protected income that many older boomers have from solid pensions or higher savings. So what are we doing as Americans to make up for the fact that pensions just really aren't a thing anymore, right? I mean, few and far between we see them. Some of our clients still have them, but not as often common as they used to be. So here's some demographic differences. Shapiro found sharp differences in retirement savings and security based on gender, race, and ethnicity and education. While the median retirement savings for all peak boomers is $225,000, it breaks down this way by those demographics. $269,000 for men versus $185,000 for women, $299,000 for whites versus $123,000 for Hispanics and $49,000 for blacks, $591,000 for college graduates versus $75,000 for high school graduates and $7,000 for those without high school diplomas. A quarter of peak boomers have defined benefit pensions, and among them, the demographic disparities are modest. Private employers provide about half of those pensions, and state and local government provide just under half. Shapiro noted, however, that 2022 data showed that the median annual benefit for the public defined benefit pensions is $25,450, or 44% greater than the median benefit of $17,640 for the private ones. So, he says, the saving grace for some peak boomers is that they can count on the added protected income that a pension provides in retirement. Jason Fichter, executive director of the ALI Retirement Income Institute, said. So, what does all this mean? As we said, it's not doom or gloom. The world's not over. We're living longer, so we have more time to work if that's what we choose. But the important message is, for everyone and anyone, when it comes to your financial planning, now is the best day for you to start or improve your savings than it'll ever be. And if you don't do it today, tomorrow will be the best day. If you don't do it tomorrow, the day after that. But the longer we push it out, the harder it's going to be to build the retirement and the future financial life that you hope to have. But don't be terrified about money, right? I think one of the biggest challenges, issues, or struggles that our society has is that we're so timid around the conversation of money that we ignore it, and it actually becomes a bigger problem, right? Whether it's mental health, physical health, financial health, whatever it is, if something's bothering you or if you have an issue, ignoring it doesn't make it go away. Talk to someone, right? Talk to someone who's hopefully professionally licensed, but at the very least that you trust about it, and at least get the conversation started. Worst case scenario, you don't like what you have to say, next, go find someone else, right? You might come and talk to me. You might not like what I have to say. That's okay. At least you started the conversation. You know what you don't like, go find someone else. The point is, talk about it, right? Have those conversations and make sure you're building a plan and base it on not only what you have today, but what you hope to have in the future, all right? So that's really important. Effects on the U.S. economy. Between 2024 and 2030, the U.S. economy will experience a range of outcomes with the retirement and peak boomers who currently 10% of U.S. jobs, from millions of job vacancies and slower productivity gains to added burdens on entitlement programs such as Social Security. So this is really interesting because one thing, we have way more people who are retiring than we have entering the workforce. So it'll be really fascinating to see what that looks like for those of us who are still in the workforce the next 20, 30 years. But also, our work-life balance is way different. I was talking to the president of our Sanford and Thief River Falls the other day, and he told me that for every one retiring physician today, they have to hire 1.8 physicians to replace their workload. For every one retiring today, they have to retire 1.8 or almost 2 doctors to replace them. Why? Because it's not right or wrong, but basically the generation, the boomers that are retiring, all they did was work, right? They worked so hard. My generation, our generation, little different, little different intention. Looking for a little more time off, looking for a little more family time, vacation time, travel time, putting in the 40 hours and going to find something else to do, right? It's a much different culture we live in today. So with those two things, among many others, but those two variables specifically, way more people are retiring than entering the workforce, and the people entering the workforce not wanting to work as much as the people leaving the workforce. It'd be really interesting to see if that just further compounds the issue we see today in, I believe, the scarcest resource we have in society today is hardworking people looking for work. It's so many business owners I know, the number one thing they can't get is human capital. Finding people to show up and work. So maybe AI, maybe technology will fill that gap. Maybe it won't ever be an issue, but it will be interesting to see and observe as time goes on. For those of us who work really, really hard, fortunately, you'll probably be able to kind of be a little more picky and choosy on what you want to do and who you want to do it for when it comes to your careers. So anyways, I digress. Went down a little bit of a tangent there. This is retirement planning, not economic observations, even though I love economics. I could talk about it all day, every day. I don't want to get too stuck on that. So it is 2:23. I do have somewhere I can optionally be at 2:30 that I don't have to be there. I'll happily stay on here till 3 if there are any live questions, comments, or concerns you'd like me to address. Otherwise, if I don't get any in the next couple of minutes, I'll probably wrap this up so I can go run over to that 2:30 appointment that I have, and then we can go from there. All right, so I'm not seeing any questions or thoughts. All right, so one last thing, I just thought I'd mention it because it came up in a recent conversation. RMDs are a real thing, required minimum distributions, whether you want to take them or not. If you have a large or any amount of assets in tax-deferred IRAs or 401ks, once you reach your required minimum distribution age, it could vary from age 72 to 75, depending on how old you are, or when the law changed. But the point is, if you're looking for a tax-advantaged way to make those distributions, a qualified charitable distribution might be a great opportunity or something you should consider. So for those who are interested, I'll just do a quick article here. It's from fidelity.com that talks about what they are and how they work. If you would like any questions or if you have any questions on that, you can definitely reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you out with that. because of course paying taxes is not fun, but if you can avoid paying taxes by donating to those in need, that's a pretty awesome way to do it. Also, in case you are ever interested, so we are completely updating our website, but for now, I'm going to include our website in the link in case you ever want to schedule a meeting or ask questions or just check out the different tools or resources we have in there. I believe the only option if you want to schedule a meeting is to schedule a 15-minute call with Ross, who's my business partner. He's great. If you do use that link and you actually end up wanting to talk to me, just let us know and we can definitely make that adjustment. Otherwise, obviously, he's an amazing guy. So he's a great guy to talk to. But I don't see any questions coming through or thoughts on that. So I will wrap it up here by just saying thank you for those of you who stopped by in person, and thank you for those of you who, or live I should say, and thank you for those of you who watch this or listen to this at a later date. I will post the podcast and video on my multiple platforms. And I look forward to having another great conversation with you next week, and hope you all have a wonderful day. And hopefully the Vikings do a great job making a great job tonight. All right, thanks. Bye.